Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're doing something really important. We're setting the stage for a comprehensive survival guide, one that unpacks the very real and honestly often hidden health hazards facing young adults today. We're going to take a hard look at the data, the research, and the science to understand exactly what the modern world is doing to developing bodies and minds. Okay, let's dive into this because this right here, this is the fundamental question we absolutely have to ask ourselves. The environment teenagers are growing up in today is completely unprecedented. We aren't just dealing with the typical awkwardness of puberty anymore. Nope. We're looking at a hyper-connected, ultra-processed, high-stress ecosystem. So we really have to ask, is modern life secretly breaking our young adults? To answer that, here's our roadmap. We've got 5 key areas on the agenda today. First, modern youth health hazards. Second, diet, drinks, and substances. Third, the digital world's toll. Fourth, mental health and hustle. And finally, number 5, simple fixes for health. Let's get right to it. All right, section 1, modern youth health hazards, exploring youth vulnerabilities. Now, the data here paints a pretty stark picture. According to the World Health Organization, over 340 million children and adolescents were overweight or obese back in 2016. And trust me, those projections are only climbing. But listen, it is absolutely vital that we look at this storm cloud with empathetic neutrality. These rising rates of obesity and the intense grip of tech addiction, they are not moral failings on the part of teenagers. Not at all. They're direct byproducts of an environment where screens are aggressively replacing physical activity and where ultra-processed foods are just heavily marketed. Add to this the fact that a youth's rapid brain and body development makes them uniquely vulnerable to these specific modern stressors, and well, you've got a perfect storm. Moving on to section 2, diet, drinks, and substances. Let's look at how they are draining youth energy. Take a look at this metabolic roller coaster we put ourselves on. It often starts with drinking coffee before having a single drop of water, which just skyrockets morning anxiety. Then a lot of teens skip breakfast entirely to save time, crossing out essential nutrients and causing massive metabolic stress. Or they rely on sugary fruit smoothies over plain water, which spikes that blood sugar right up. And when the inevitable crash hits, they reach for a massive, sugary, iced energy drink. Look, these aren't just harmless habits. They literally trap the body in an exhausting, infinite loop. This brings us to the science of the everyday. When teens feel that afternoon crash, they usually grab an energy drink, right? But here is what's actually happening in the brain. Adenosine is a naturally occurring compound in your body that builds up throughout the day to promote sleep, while caffeine, which is pumped into energy drinks in massive doses, is structurally really similar to adenosine. So it actively binds to those exact same receptors and blocks the adenosine from doing its job. The body is still totally exhausted, but the brain's tired signal is muted. This traps young adults in a vicious cycle of fatigue where they constantly need more and more caffeine just to function, and that ultimately destroys their natural sleep architecture. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these coping mechanisms escalate into a dangerous downward spiral. A lot of young adults believe vaping is a safe alternative to smoking, but the research is clear. Vaping causes lung injury, heart problems, and elevated bodily inflammation. And more importantly, it doesn't remove the risk or solve nicotine addiction at all. It simply maintains it, rewiring the developing brain in the process. Furthermore, data shows an alarming behavioral link. Adolescents who regularly consume energy drinks are actually twice as likely to try soft drugs like alcohol or marijuana. This physiological disruption literally opens the door to riskier behavioral choices. All right, section 3, the digital world's toll, uncovering the hidden physical impacts. You might not even realize it, but check your posture right now. How are you sitting? Constant digital connectivity is fundamentally altering human anatomy. Enter text neck. This is a painful condition that doctors are increasingly diagnosing in teenagers. It's caused by the poor posture of constantly hunching over smartphones, which over time can literally lead to premature degeneration of the spine. It's the hidden physical toll of being constantly connected. So, the crucial point is 27. What does that number actually mean? Well, according to spine specialists, tipping your head forward and downward by just a slight 15 degrees is the equivalent of adding 27 pounds of weight to your cervical vertebrae. That's a lot. And if you drop your head to a 60-degree angle, which, let's be real, is how most of us scrawl, it's like hanging a 60-pound weight from your neck. Over months and years, this constant strain wears out the joints and discs in a young person's spine well before their time. And the physical toll doesn't stop at the spine either. It extends right to the ears. Get this, 1 in 4 young people, that is a massive 25% of the global youth population, are already showing early signs of irreversible hearing loss. This is primarily due to recreational noise from wireless headphones. Those in-ear headphones can easily blast at 100 to 110 decibels, which just destroys the delicate hair cells in the inner ear. And once those cells are gone, they never regenerate. Ever. Fortunately, audiology experts offer a highly actionable, immediate solution to protect your auditory health. It's called the 60-60 rule. First, keep your device's volume at a maximum of 60% of its total capacity. Second, only listen for a maximum of 60 minutes continuously. And third, you must take a mandatory 10 to 15-minute break to let your ears recover. It's a super simple formula, but it can literally save your hearing for the rest of your life. Moving on to Section 4, Mental Health and Hustle. Examining those intense internal pressures. The modern student is just under immense pressure to build the perfect resume. In a recent study looking at high school students, an average of 59.4%, so nearly 60% of surveyed students, were found to be relentlessly engaging in what we call hustle culture. They are working these incredibly long hours across academics and extracurriculars just to build their portfolios. They're carrying this massive, burdensome pile of responsibilities, and to do it, they're completely sacrificing their leisure time, family moments, and basic relaxation. When we break down exactly why they're doing this, we see a daily emotional tug of war. On one side, you have intrinsic motivation, which is a great, healthy drive for personal growth, skill building, and just the genuine desire to succeed. But on the exact opposite side, there is extrinsic motivation, the toxic dread of FOMO, intense peer comparison, and heavy parental pressure. It's like a constant battle. Students are frantically switching between activities, terrified that if they aren't productive every single second, they'll be left in the dust. And this relentless drive, it's a one-way ticket to emotional exhaustion and total burnout. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Simple Fixes for Health. Let's talk about making some highly actionable changes. Let's start with the body's largest organ, the skin. You can honestly forget those complicated 12-step routines. Dermatologists stress consistency over harsh products. Slather on that SPF 30 every single day to prevent premature aging and damage. Resist the urge to overwash. Twice a day is plenty to protect your natural barrier. And step away from the mirror. Spot treat pimples, never ever pop them, which just prevents scarring. Top it all off with a daily moisturizer and 8 glasses of water, and you are golden. Next up, let's look at those foundational lifestyle habits. The body's internal clock totally craves consistency. Establishing a fixed sleep window, like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., regulates the hormones that control your hunger, your stress, and your immunity. Furthermore, young adults really need to learn basic cooking skills. Knowing how to quickly prepare just 3 basic meals completely dismantles the reliance on ultra-processed, high-sugar food deliveries. Finally, deliberately replacing that late-night screen scrolling with physical activities and making a real effort to connect with others offline, that can dramatically improve your mood, focus, and overall physical health. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire theme of our analysis today. Navigating adolescence, surviving and thriving in it, isn't about achieving absolute perfection. It's really about making small, consistent daily changes today that will act as a shield, protecting young adults from a lifetime of chronic health issues tomorrow. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to reflect on. Take a hard look at your own routine, your own screen time, your own hydration. Which of your daily habits will you change today to protect your tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into the data. Take care of yourselves out there and start building those protective habits right now.